Good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's Spotlight, which is brought to you by the Georgetown Branch NAACP, where we are here to educate, motivate, and activate. Today, we have some topics that we are going to go over from education to the hate crime bill, housing, and the elections. But let me go ahead and bring on my co host, Sheldon Butts, and Mr. Marvin Neal. Good afternoon, everybody. How you doing?
Good afternoon.
Great afternoon. It's a good day to be fighting for some kind of justice in this United States of America. Thank you for having me.
Yes, yes, yes. It's a good day, and it's actually a really beautiful day here in Georgetown. It actually was hot for a January,
Absolutely.
and I'm
I can deal with that.
thankful for that. Oh
I'm
yeah,
not
oh
complaining
yeah.
though.
No, no complaints. But y'all, we have some serious topics to cover. We thank you if you're here joining us. But if you would, please share this information to your page. Get others to come and like our page so that you can keep up with the information that's going on in our community right here in Georgetown County and beyond. Um, First thing we want to go topic we're going to cover today is education. We've got a couple different things that you need to be aware of. That's the book bannings and the summer lunch program. Um, if you would comment, if you've heard about or have any comments about book banning or the summer lunch program, please go ahead and do that now. What you should know, let's start with the summer lunch program. That's a program that's been around for a very long time. I don't have the year that it started, but this program has been around since I was in school, and that's something that we look forward to during the summertime when there was no school. We would go to our local community center and had lunch, and that was some of the things that we look forward to as children. But as we move forward into most of these parents rely on summer lunch to feed their kids because when they're not in school, they're at home, and if you're a parent, you already know the kids are eating more food. So people rely on the summer lunch. But this was last week. Governor McMaster has denied funds for the summer lunch program, which puts our students at risk for hunger, and there's already major food insecurities. Um, Mr. Niels, Sheldon, either of you have anything to say about summer lunch?
Well, one thing, Abney, I got a call last week from our Senator Ronnie Sabbs, who's really on top of this game there, and Representative uh, Carl Anderson, who communicate with also. Uh, and their message was that the governor had denied federal funding for the summer lunch feeding program for the children over the summer, and that has been, I think, the first time that have happened. And it's very interesting that someone would deny such a critical program, to our children. And here we feeding children all over the world. But we can't feed children right in South Carolina. It's shameful, and say we are voting for these people to stay in office so our children could go in hunger. You know, I can't even fathom someone even doing that, and it's our federal dollars that we pay in taxes. That he just say no because of political reason, and party line. That is shameful, and that's what happened. So, following that, we rallied with the African Methodist Episcopal Church and went to the State House on Wednesday of last week, which the Amy Bishop there was the main speaker there, and Senator Ronnie Sabbs, who spoke against this feeding and the hate crime bill at the same time. But the feeding was one of the key subjects, and pretty much the hate crime bill also. but they sent a strong message, and they had a young man to speak there. Also, young men talked about how the summer lunch program helped him survive over the summer, and he's still in school. You know, it's shameful when the children have to come out and ask a governor to feed them when they're hungry. It's
Right.
shameful. You know,
It
just
is
what's going right now.
shameful.
Yeah, but it's great turnout at the State House. I think there was a strong message. I mean, there was standing room only in that the lobby area there. And they really packed it out. You know, kudos to the AME Church and those that came from the Baptist Association, but the majority was from the AME Church there, which Bishop Green, Samuel Green really rallied the church hard. When he shows up, everybody shows up anyhow. The NAACP, some other organizations, grassroots organizations were there also. So, but kudos to
Right.
the church and the Black leadership of South Carolina and stuff.
Absolutely. You know, go ahead, Sheldon.
I just don't understand just human aspect of this governor and how does his heart beat and how does blood flow through his body when we're talking about hunger and children. This hunger doesn't have color. This hunger doesn't have age. This hunger doesn't have religion. This hunger has a human aspect behind it. And it bewilders me how any politician would have any kind of negative connotation to tag to this critical tragedy, because it is a tragedy when it comes to our children. It is already, studies have been done that shows children do better in this classroom when they don't have to concentrate on figuring out when it's time for lunch, when they may get that first meal of the day. That's their first meal of the day. And they're wondering about when that meal is going to come, because they know that's probably will be the last meal of the day until they get back there on tomorrow. So it wrecks my soul to understand how this governor can take this notion of tragedy and try to put politics beside it. You know, and not for nothing, you want to know clearly, I think the food should be free for every kid. Let's do away with paying for food, period, for children that go to school.
Yep. I agree 110%. And you know, you mentioned a really good point. Food should not, people should not have food insecurities in a first world country such as the United States of America. That's the first thing. And the other thing is this now, let's bring things into perspective on where we are on an even keel. The same governor that has denied the summer lunch program is the same governor that approved public school funds to be used and funneled over to private schools. Now, I need you to help me make that make sense. You deny food, but then and really what he did was illegal. And they're still looking into that, because you can't take public funds and try to funnel that over to private schools. And they're doing nothing but helping their rich counterparts.
Well, Ebony, whatever it takes that looks like they could take away from the Black and brown community, they will starve their own to do that. Okay.
Sure.
And that have not changed in the history of the United States. That's why I never understood how could someone vote for someone that state that they will take something away from you and they still vote for them, something that's going to be a part of your livelihood, like food and healthcare and those type of stuff, just because of color line and party line. You know, it's shameful, you know, and it's not new. Like you said, how can a governor do that? It's not that hard, obviously. You know, it's the same governor, same state that don't have a hate crime bill. So it's not like it's new, but this is the same governor. That bill right now that they're trying to take public dollars to go to private schools. That bill is at the Supreme Court right now, pending. So We're gonna see how that goes.
Wow.
You know,
Yep.
so
And that's dealing with consequences of who you vote for. You have to pay attention to those things. And, we can't forget. That's why, when it comes down to consequences of voting, you now have a former governor of of South Carolina, Nikki Haley, who's now in position where she's, she could possibly, unlikely at this point, but it's possible that she could become the president of the United States. And she herself denied funding for Medicaid whenever she
Correct.
was governor. So, when you allow those type of things without putting people in their place, then you allow grass to grow into thickets, forests that it's hard to fight through. That's why you have to, these are the consequences of who we have allowed to get into these seats.
But Ebony, one more thing. We have to realize this was an election season. And a lot of times we ask the question, why should I vote? And we have to remind everyone that this is what's on the ballot based on who you put into office. Elections have consequences. You have freedom, change, healthcare, hate crime bills, summer feeding, student loan forgiveness. All of those things are on the ballot. That's what's on the ballot based on who you vote for. Okay? So it's not hard to figure it out. We just have to get that message out. The hate crime bill is on the ballot based on who you vote for. Freedom is on the ballot. Take our country back. That's on the ballot based on who you vote for. Your culture is on the ballot. That's your history. That's on the ballot. Book banning is on the ballot. These are the things that's on the ballot. Summer feeding program is on the ballot, whether your children will eat over the summer or not eat over the summer. Student loan forgiveness is happening right now. My sister called me screaming, 58 years old. Her student loan was forgiven, okay, by the administration that's in place right now. That's on the ballot. You're subject to lose that based on who you vote for. Just think about the situation right now that's going on with in Andrews. $3.2 million for a fire in a police complex. All that's on the ballot based on who you vote for. 90-unit housing, Wedgefield. These are local. It's on the ballot based on who you vote for. We lost 90 units because of folks sat back on council and voted it out that had nothing to do with their district. That's on the ballot right now. You see, these are the things we have to make sure that we get back out to the people so they know who they're voting for and why elections have consequences. And anyone that says they don't have a reason to vote, I just gave you a ton of them right there. These things are on the ballot, and we're going to push it out there, through civic engagement and political action. We're going to do that. So it's critical that we understand what's on the ballot.
South Carolina is one of two states in these 50 states that we occupy, and we call America, that does not have a hate crime bill. Our same governor recently said that he will sign into law, once it passes the Senate, the law that you don't have to have any kind of training to have a concealed weapon in South Carolina, and you can carry it openly. And you don't have to have no kind of training, and you don't have to go get a concealed weapon permit, which allows you lawfully to carry that weapon. He's poised to pass that bill as it goes through the Senate. He said it. If it goes through the Senate, he's signed it. But yet, we still have yet to have a hate crime bill, one of two states in the 50-nifty United States without a hate crime bill.
Well, you're exactly right. Something that Mr. Neal and I had talked about prior to the show is, I think Mr. Neal's exact words were, leadership matters. You know, it all comes from the top down. You kind of have to think these folks who are denying summer lunch program, they're denying student loans forgiveness, you know, where education in our country should be free as all the other first world countries. This is where a state where we have no hate crime bill, but these are also the followers of a prior president, 45, you know, so that type of mentality and behavior only came from the top down. So
Sure.
once again, you really need to. This is why we don't have a hate crime bill.
You
It's
know,
that mentality.
and Ebony, you know, and Sheldon, you know, you're saying that. Think about what you just said now, but I want you to listen to this. Just on last week, I was just fighting against two situations, you know, in one of the counties that two black men got stopped with their weapon in their car, no bullets in it, no magazine in it, stuck between the seat. Okay. They had a carry-on permit and they had it registered. Both of them was driving charges. Okay. They got locked up. So what you're talking about now, Sheldon, is not just the open carry law, it's open season for black men.
Sure.
And black and brown community. That's what it's looking like. Now, you have to remember now, who appoint the judges right now? It's a majority. You don't have no women judges in the Supreme Court of South Carolina, period. None. And no black.
That should be legal. Any other type of organization, you have to have diversity. You have to have representation. You need to elect people so you can represent all of those groups of people.
You know how we get some good comprehensive gun reform in this country? Every willing, body-able, brown and black individual need to go out and get their concealed permit and get their weapons and start carrying them. And once they see that the number that they're trying to keep away from these guns and so forth, once they see those numbers start to rise, I guarantee you, laws will start to be coming on the books with reference to how and when an individual can hold and employ a weapon. But that's what needs to happen, because all of the card carrying individuals who belong to the NRA don't look like us, you know, and you know, unfortunately, a lot of us aren't lawfully able to carry a weapon. But I believe if those lawful abiding citizens, as soon as they turn 18, 21 years old, you're able to go get you a concealed weapon permit, go get your weapon. And once these numbers start to pop up, they're going to be like, we don't need this. And watch Sheldon Butt said it today, that will be the only thing that will get us some common sense gun reform in these United States of America.
Well, the screening process is skin deep, okay? According to who stops you, and according to what color you are, okay? So those same two young men that got stopped, that went to jail, and we working some things out to get it straight, but they went to jail. Now, others were stopped.
And I'm not saying, I don't oppose the Second Amendment. I'm a gun carrier. I believe in having mine with me. So don't get it twisted. But we still need to have some kind of common human sense about how we regulate who and when and what can carry and what constitutes that.
Well, when you push for equal rights, okay, common sense takes place as according to the direction that it's going. Like you say, if every black and brown person's walking around Georgetown or anywhere in America with a gun open carry on their hip, with Susie and Jimmy and those walking by them clenching their pocketbooks, things will change. The laws will change. That's what takes to change laws. When they do it, we have to do it too. That's what time it is. Because until that happens, see, we not normally, we have enough sense not to carry anything that could harm someone openly. That just don't make sense. Now you could get locked up. You could put a rifle in the back of your vehicle and drive all day and put it on your back seat, and you're fine. But you can't put a handgun on your seat and drive all day. What's the difference? Both will kill you. Bullets comes out of both of them. So none of it makes sense. I spoke with a couple of attorneys. They have petitioned the legislature to try to bring clarity to why a handgun carries such a penalty and a rifle and a shotgun don't. And I figured it out. We don't hunt. They hunt. So it's clear to me. They know why the NRA sells all these weapons.
Correct.
Okay.
That's why there's a big need for the hate crime bill, y'all.
Most definitely.
Call your senators.
Do we know what it is that not that it would make any sense, but do we even know what it is that's holding them up for not wanting to have this bill?
Well, those that's holding it up was Massey and 10 seconds. I'll tell you in a second.
That's what I would like.
It's on the screen.
Yeah.
That's what I would like. That's what I would
Massey,
Cash, Rice, and Garrett. Those are the four that's holding it up. For political reasons. They can't even explain why they're holding it up. What happens, Sheldon? They add other things to bills, they pet peeves. And if those things don't get carried with the bill, then they kill the bill.
Sure.
You see, none of that makes sense. When someone could burn a cross in your front yard and you don't have a bill to deal with it, all you can do is come with second-degree harassment. It takes the federal government to step in to deal with it, which they did and still is. That shouldn't have to be, and I push everyone, every branch, every county to make sure they push the local officials to push for an ordinance, a hate crime ordinance within their municipalities and within their county government. That gives us more leverage to deal with. At least you have something to work with. What happened in Horry County there, they didn't have anything. Nothing. So we have to deal, it became second-degree harassment. They were out the next day, $5,000 bail. So, what does that mean? You got families right now can't even go back to their home because things are still being investigated and under investigation by, the feds and whoever else is involved there. But that's shameful. They could not even lock them up again until a Fed gets involved and do a thorough investigation, which I'm glad they did. So it's the same thing with George Floyd and the others that was killed. Feds had to get involved. Same thing with the guy that got killed in Charleston there. Same thing with the Manual 9. All of those were hate crimes that the feds had to deal with because we don't have a hate crime bill. So that's what we're dealing with. It's critical that that bill pass and stuff. So everyone need to call their legislator, whether it's Massey, Rice, and the others. That's all. It's all relevant, but call them anyhow, so they could put the other elected official, legislative, House and Senate, could put pressure on them to pass that bill. It's going to take more than the church, the AME church, to fight for this bill. It's going to take more than just phone calls. It's going to take those that's in office also. But that is the consequences of election, Brother Sheldon. That's why election matters. That's why black vote matters.
You know why I think we probably will have some traction here sooner or later, and it's unfortunate it's coming behest of another tragedy, a world tragedy, but with Israel and Hamas, and the amount of hate crime that's coming to the Jewish community and to the Arab communities, specifically because of this tragedy that's going over in the Middle East. I've seen a lot of traction statewide that's being done because of these two entities who are being threatened, if you will, for lack of a better term, just because they are who they are. So I mean, I feel it's sad to say, but I believe we'll probably have a hate crime bill coming sooner than later, off the notion of Israel and anti-Semitic and threatening acts against the Jewish people.
And not just that, Sheldon, it's against the Arabs also.
Yes,
because
absolutely.
You have genocide going on right now also, So it's, when you have innocent human beings being killed with no defense, that's a problem. That's a problem. History is beginning to repeat itself. We just have a sophisticated way of doing it. We just have to be careful, and call it what it is, so things could come together. A human being is a human being. That's why we have to be careful. And no war, Sheldon, and I want you to think about this, have ever been won until blacks got involved with it directly.
100% fact.
None in America. None.
100%.
None. Because some sense have to come out of what's going on. From the Revolutionary War, you name it. The Tuskegee Airmen, the Buffalo Soldiers, those were the end gamers in the war. Just think about it. The Emancipation Proclamation, that didn't come to be because they wanted blacks freed. They needed blacks to fight that war. That's what it boils down to. That's the reality of it now. Abraham Lincoln was just smart enough to say, yeah, we need to go this way. We can bring an end to this thing. That's what it was all about, So that's just keeping it real. So ain't no kudos to nobody. Kudos to those black soldiers that step out there and did what they had to do. Hiram and those folks with the Tuskegee Airmen, the Buffalo Soldiers knows. That's where the kudos go.
So
a lot of lives and sacrifice.
Early voting has started, right, Miss Ebony, for the presidential election, for the primary?
Yeah, early voting started on Tuesday, January 23rd. The deadline for absentee ballot, early voting started January 22nd for the Democratic presidential election. Okay, it ends. It's from 8:30 a.m. to 6 o'clock p.m. Monday through Saturday. Okay, it starts again on Tuesday, the 23rd, through the 2nd of February. So from January 22nd to February 2nd, early voting, 8:30 a.m. to 6 o'clock p.m. Now for the Republican presidential primary, it starts February 12th through February 22nd. That's early voting. And the actual primary last day is the 24th of February, but it's on a Saturday. So next Saturday, February 3rd, the poll open at 7 o'clock in all the areas, all the precincts in Georgetown, from 7 a.m. to 7 o'clock p.m. for the Democratic presidential primary. But we urge everyone to go out now. You can go to Choppy site, Andrews Rec, Choppy Recreation, and the election office, and the rec in Parkersville to vote right now. So we urge everyone to go and vote now. Don't wait on the 3rd of February to vote. You can vote now from 8:30 to 6 o'clock p.m. in the afternoon.
And this segment of voting should not be taken for granted. Just because our president is running unopposed, or he has a couple of individuals that are in the race, but not theoretically in the race because it's mathematically impossible for them to carry on. But we should not take this election for this primary and the first in the nation in South Carolina. We should not take it for granted. Go out and vote as if your life depended on it, because it does. And then it goes on into June, and then we go into November. So we can ill afford to sit back and believe that things will happen just because we are breathing the air that we breathe. But we have to take action, and we have to get out there and ensure that we set ourselves up for a victory going forward against 45, who's presumably going to be the other individual that's going to be representing on the presidential ticket for the United States in November. So we can ill afford to sit back and sit down and hold back and hold on. We have to get out and show that we're able, ready and willing to make our voices heard. And the only way we can do that is by going to the ballot and casting that vote that will be the very thing that we need to save this country and save our democracy. So please, as Mr. Neal said, go ahead and get that date. Go ahead and get it done now before the 3rd. And if you're unable to get it done before the 3rd, please get it done on the 3rd and go out and cast your vote as we go forward in this general election for the President of the United States in November.
And also, while you're voting, if you're turned away without cause, or if you're confused about why you were turned away, please call the election office or call the election protection hotlines, which is 866-687-8683. 866 our vote. Please, that's the election protection hotline, and someone will pick up. They'll respond back to you immediately. Call or text election protection hotline for help. 866 our vote. You have the right to vote. You have the right to vote. Voting should be fair. That's where we are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Every gender, every age group, every ethnic group, we have to get out and do what we know how to do, our civic duty. If there's one civic duty you should take pride and pleasure into, that's casting your vote in this democratic country that we live in. Democracies, they are the heartbeat for the world. That's why there are more democracies than there are communist countries, and etc. It's because democracy heals, democracy makes things happen. And it's the people that control that narrative, not the government, not one man, not one woman that controls all of that. So when you are able to be a part of the function and the fabric that makes this country run, why wouldn't you be? Why wouldn't you be? There's not an answer for that. The only answer is you got to get out and vote. And your vote matters. And if you don't vote, sit back, be quiet, and soak in your own sadness. But get out and vote, please. Get somebody else out to vote. Take somebody with you. It's important.
And we have seen the impact of that, Brother Sheldon, just recently in the most recent city election in Georgetown.
Oh, sure.
Where we lost 2 additional black city council seats. So and also we have seen it again in 1st District in Charleston, where 30,000 votes was pushed into Congressional District 6 from Congressional District 1 in order for Nancy Mace to win that seat. You know, that is shameful. That is sitting right now at the U.S. Supreme Court pending the results at the U.S. Supreme Court. So we have to be very careful, you know, who we vote for, because your vote counts. that's a Senate seat right now that that district have lost. When you have elected officials selecting their voters instead of the voters selecting them, we have a problem. That's gerrymandering. But Sheldon, I'd like to segue into this housing situation in Georgetown,
Okay.
the place by the bay. We have received several complaints, which we are pretty much looking into now. Just think about 3 years ago, a 90-unit housing project was denied on Wedgefield Road because of flat-out racism. Denied. 90 unit. Now we are pending a 50-unit housing place by the bay that we're about to lose, and those people have nowhere to go. Critical housing shortage in Georgetown. Now, I want to remind the voters that 90-unit housing that was lost in District 7 wasn't voted out by District 7 representative. It was voted out by District
5 and
3 representative and 2 other racist folks, Bob Anderson and Raymond Owens, denying Black people the opportunity for housing in District 7, which is Louis Grant's district where he served right now. So you need to know who you are voting for. It's necessary. No one should be denying people the right to live in an area because of skin tone. And it was said in the meeting, we don't want those Black people living by us. These things were said by not only just residents of the community, this was said by county councilmen. That's shameful. So we have to be careful who we put into these seats when the deals are being made behind closed. And I have yet to understand why District 3 representative voted against that housing project. And he's running for office again right now. So.
Well, as you talk about the place by the bay, something that's very striking to me is that the place by the bay is in the city, which tells me that the mayor and city council was aware from the onset, whenever they decided that this was going to happen, that it wasn't going to be subsidized housing anymore, low-income housing anymore, and they're going to change a course of action. The mayor and council had to be aware of that, because you have to go in and you have to get zoning requirements to make it that which you want it to be. And from and it is zoned currently for that subsidized housing, low income housing. So it had to go through zoning, and it had to go through the city administrator, and it had to go to the mayor before that action could come to fruition. So that's the part that's being kept quiet, is that there's the responsibility started with the mayor and council with reference to this issue being at the way it is right now.
So it's interesting that you said that, but the question is, which councils were privileged to the information?
Sure.
And which weren't? So not only that you have a council problem, you have an administrative problem, because the information comes through the administrator. So you just don't have a council problem, you have an administrative problem, or a past administrative problem. So those things are critical, that we need to know. That's why you have to make sure you get people in these seats that know what's going on or in the know, and come back and speak to the people. Because here you are looking at the end of March. These people have to be out of those those units based on the information that they have right now and that we have seen. So, and we had some other folks calling from South Island, residency home there. But I think that's going to, they're at least working with the residents there so far, from what I've understood. I spoke with some last week. But this place by the bay, I don't see where that's going other than someone getting involved and stuff from a legal standpoint, fair housing from the state level.
And you know what? It's not only we need to be mindful of who we elect and who we have representing us. Those same individuals that are there that don't have your best interests at heart will place people on these commissions and boards that play a vital and critical role in how the council governs, i.e., the board of zoning and appeals, the planning commission. These individuals that are on these positions, in these positions, have meat and muscle as what goes to council and mayor to make it into ordinance or a proclamation. So we got to be very careful. It has consequences, more consequences than we think. That the mayor and her J team can approve who's going to be on who and who's not going to be on the very commissions that have to that has to do due diligences and inspections and investigations and paperwork to submit to council and mayor to approve or disapprove something. If you don't have people on those commissions and councils that have your best interests in heart, it's a double-edged sword. We can't win on one side nor the other. So we got to make sure that we get the right people in on the top and the individuals who are on these boards and commissions that make decisions and pass on to the mayor and council.
But also, Sheldon, if you think about it, how could you have equity and inclusion and diversity and inclusion when each area of the county is not represented? Just think about it. Now, on the county council gets to appoint an individual,
single member district,
that's serving in those different areas. And it should be the same. It should have been the same for the different areas of Georgetown too. If that, you have to have representation, and there should not be a criteria so stricken that are tailored towards a certain segment of the population. And that's what's happening right now.
Absolutely.
So things could get passed through. Just think about the situation.
I think we need to take a look at that application and streamline it through our processes, because it is definitely tailored to accept a certain kind of people versus another kind of person.
Well, it's tailored to whitewash the whole board. That's what it boils down to, like everything else is going. And that's the challenges that we face. Everything is tailored to put whites on every board within that city municipality of Georgetown. It's tailored for that. That everything is there. The language is there and everything. So we have to look at other alternatives and stuff as we look at government in the municipality of Georgetown. And that's something to come. But we have to be careful, because election have consequences.
Oh, yes, it does.
And we have to make sure that people that we are electing or that's running for these seats can bring out the vote. That's critical. That is critical. We can no longer run for office and sit at home. Even those that's not running and serving in the capacity of city council or county government, you can't afford to sit at home anymore and say you don't have a dog in that fight. Every dog in that fight is yours. And if your dog is not in that fight, you need to bring your dog to the fight, because every seat you're going to have to fight for in Georgetown, especially in that city limits of Georgetown. Because the consequences of electrical bills, the height of electrical bills, housing, drainage system, all those are factors right now in Georgetown. Zoning for certain type housing, whether it's stick built or mobile. All those things have consequences on gentrification when it comes down to trying to rid certain color of people out of Georgetown. And that's what's going on right now. Georgetown is about to be whitewashed if we don't get some balance, equity, and inclusion and diversity back in that city government and also within the city administration of the government in Georgetown. This is critical.
If you all have any, if everyone that's listening, if you have any questions, comments, and or concerns as we continue to do Spotlight throughout the year, please come on and ask those questions, and to the best of our abilities, we'll give you the answer that you want and or need, or we will point you in the right direction where to find that out, because the things that you don't know are the things that hurt. So don't ever feel that you're in a space where you don't know something and you're afraid to ask it. You come here and ask us questions that are dealing with the city, the county, and the disenfranchised and the underserved, etc. Just feel free and feel confident that you can come to us here on this forum, or send us a message or give us a call, and we'll be more than welcome to assist you in pointing you into the right direction, so that you can be properly served.
Yeah, and it's critical that the black churches get directly involved with this election also. We're not asking anyone to tell people who to vote for, but we definitely asking all the churches to push your people and your members to go out and vote and carry them to the poll if necessary.
It's a must. It's a must.
It's critical that happens. So, okay. On another note, Brother Sheldon, the principal at Carvers Bay High School, Mr. Larry Odom,
yep,
have put his retirement paper in. But they are right now interviewing they're censoring the community and right now what they would like to see in a principal. We need to remind the people that the opportunity for Mr. Larry Odom to come back to Carvers Bay is also open. That's the new law now in the school district. So I don't think he's trying to go anywhere. I think he just decided to retire and come back for a couple of years, whatever, to finish service time out, some unfinished business there. But I think it's critical that he comes back because of that new magnet school there. That's first year. It's critical that he continue out and see this process all the way through.
Because we don't need a new uninformed person to come in to try to understand Carvers Bay and its dynamics. So you're absolutely right. We definitely gotta push for Mr. Odom to take a seat while taking a stand, and stay there, just like you say, until this process has been solidified. And it's able to be nurtured, then passed on to somebody else, because it is critical in its infancy for it to be correct and for it to be done correctly, and have the right person in it to will it towards being done right. So I hope he's able to do that.
Yeah, I hope so also. He's been talked to and asked to come back, so we'll see what happens from there and stuff. But also, the funding for that magnet school definitely needs some eyes on it. And you can't bring someone new in there, because the funding that goes for those children could end up in personnel in the good old boy system, where
Correct.
Things usually work when eyes are off of the money have the tendency to trickle down in other ways. So we want to make sure our children get the full advantage of every dollar of that magnet school that they're supposed to get for the next 4 years. so we can make sure that education in Georgetown goes to our children and not the funding goes to the pocket of those who's trying to get in and create positions. So that's where a lot of it goes. Sometimes, if you take your eyes off of it. Not saying that is what's happening, but the possibility is there. Okay.
Well, I thank you for coming on. I know you was very busy this weekend, but a very, very, very important weekend conference that was held in Charleston. But you were able to make it back in time enough to be on Spotlight. Greatly appreciate that.
Yeah, I was really intrigued this weekend by what came out in that conference. It was Black Vote Matters Conference and stuff at the embassy suite there. We went up there on Thursday. Supposed to close out tomorrow. I had to get back for another meeting. We'll close out at Mount Moriah in Charleston on tomorrow, and Charity Baptist Church in Charleston. Right, Mr. Rivers. But it's some critical information came out of that conference. I mean, great speakers. You know, I know you heard of Wes Bellamy and those guys out of Charlottesville, Virginia. He used to be the mayor pro tem there. He's right out of Long, South Carolina there. Talked to him last night. He's family, you know, my family. And so much came out of there. And they was talking about, you know, the relevancy of the churches now, the Black churches during the election. And that is critical. And I think that's why a lot of our strength was always built around the Black church.
Absolutely.
Because when the Black church is involved, it's not just a moment, it's a movement then.
Sure.
When the Black church takes its hands off, not the politics, but off of democracy and those things that we have fought for, then it's just become a moment. So we have to get the Black church back involved with the movement and ask them to continue, those that are still involved, continue to be involved, because it's critical that the Black vote get to the poll, or you will not be represented. If you look at what happened just in 2020 election, you had right at 74 million Blacks between the ages of 18 and 34. Only 30% voted.
Right. How about that?
So that tells you that we could turn any election, but let's make it clear that our message have to be clear also, and they need to understand what happens at the ballot booth and how it affects them, you know. And that's what we were talking about before, you know, the hate crime bill, student loan forgiveness, fire station, summer feeding, all these things is at the ballot booth. Book banning, your history is at the ballot booth. Change is at the ballot booth. Whatever you're looking for, it's in the ballot. So a no vote is a vote for those that's going to take everything away from you and take America back as they wish and as they have said. So don't take that lightly. The theme is not just a theme. We have seen January 6th. We don't need to see another January 6th. We need to see someone put behind bars because of January 6th. You know, and we also have to realize, Brother Sheldon, is democracy came from Blackness. Okay? And when the Constitution was written, it wasn't written for us. It was written to control us. Okay? So, and people have to keep that in mind. When you hear they want to change the Constitution and change these things, when we start getting the same benefit as others, Black and brown community, that's when things begin to feel a little ill to some folks, where changes, they think changes is necessary for them to, I guess, stay even. But the browning of America is here. That's not going to go anywhere. That's here. So what we have to deal with now is how do we move forward as a country collectively not as a white country or a black country or a Hispanic country or whatever. We need to move forward as a country. So we have to continue to fight for diversity, equity, and inclusion of the black people and brown people.
I concur 100%. You got any further announcements for upcoming events, Mr. New?
Well, we have an event coming up with the, I'm thinking it's with the Delta on we have the Andrews NAACP banquet that's coming up on February 10th at 6:00 p.m. That will be at the Jerusalem Center, 613 County Road in Andrews, South Carolina. That's the guest speaker will be Dr. Betty Clark. Great speaker. You know, it's a Black Excellence Banquet. It's a fundraiser. It's a Freedom Fund fundraiser. The general admission is $40. The senior admission for 75 and up is $25. So there's also the Deltas have a voting segment at Bethel Church also. That's on the 24th of February, but more will come out on that later on our next segment. But lo and behold, election is here. So go Monday and vote, and make sure that you take someone with you. Check your voter's registration card at scvote.org. Make sure when you go to the poll, you have a valid identification with you or your voter's registration card. You know, your carry-on permit, military driver's license. You could get an ID card at the election office, or you could go to the election office and get an ID card also. But don't let nothing stop you from voting. All else, fill out a provisional ballot and make sure you're there to cure that ballot that Thursday following the election, or the date that they set forward following the election, so your vote can count. So you must be on site the day they cure the ballot, the election office, so your vote can count.
All right.
That's pretty much everything we have today, Brother Sheldon.
That's good. That's good. That was a lot of information.
Yeah, but there's more to come because there's a lot going on.
Yeah, absolutely. There's not a lack of information, definitely, that we need to get to the people. So that understand that we just don't have enough time in the day to make individuals aware of that which is affecting them today, or that will affect them on tomorrow. But we'll do our best job as time permits to ensure that people are duly informed of that which is going on that affects them.
Yeah, and we also want to be reminded too that the Emmett Till anti-lynching bill is still on the floor too. They were one vote away from passing that bill at the congressional. One vote away, Brother Sheldon. You know, that's why it's so critical that when the opportunity is to put people in office that look out for humanity is there, we need to vote. You know, because every movement that we have, it requires a sacrifice. You know, if you don't sacrifice, you cannot just show up in a demonstration and go back home. Dr. King couldn't do that. John Lewis couldn't do that. When they went the first attempt to the Edmund Pettus Bridge, they turned around, but they went back. That was a movement. They could have make it a moment and turn around and just keep walking and never go back. But look at what happened when they went back. That's where the 1965 Voting Rights Act came into play at. So we have to be careful how we don't follow up and be persistent and intentional about change and those things that affects us as Black people. Because everything we fight for in America, we don't fight for the rights of white people. We fight for the rights of Black people and brown people. It's always been that way. And we always have to ask ourselves that question, why should it be that way? Just imagine America with no racism, Sheldon.
Man, America don't have that. Tim Scott and Nikki Haley, they say that doesn't exist here, man. What are you kidding me? You kidding me?
But just imagine that. I heard that too. I heard even DeSantis. They asked him about critical race theory. They asked him about critical race theory. He said, "Well, there's a lot there. He understands it, but he don't want to get into it all the way." Then they asked him, "Well, what is critical race theory?" Then he said, "I don't understand it." You see what I'm saying?
I bet you don't.
So it's interesting how hypocritical these guys are, just saying stuff and doing stuff because of party line, running on a platform that they really don't even believe. That's even unhumane. Just think about it. You got 45 running, and say on day one, what would he do? Day one.
He's going to be a dictator. That's what he said. He's going to be a dictator.
Well, he's already a dictator.
He said for at least the first 10 days.
Yeah, so, and trust me, what he said, he's going to do that.
Oh, he mean that?
He's going to do that. So the consequences of not voting is people like that showing up in the office of the presidency. Someone that has 90 criminal count.
94.
94? Okay. Criminal count. 94 criminal counts against him. And people are still voting. Well, this is a free country. Voting is a choice. But that's what we're dealing with. So everyone needs to remember what they're taking to the ballot booth with them. They're taking freedom there. It's on the ballot. Change is on the ballot. Electrical bill is on the ballot. Summer feeding program is on the ballot.
Equity and inclusion is on the ballot.
It's on the ballot. Student loan forgiveness is on the ballot. Black teachers in the schools in Georgetown County, like Waccamaw area, that don't exist is on the ballot. These things are on the ballot. So we have to be very careful, who we put in these offices, because it has consequences, and we have seen the results of that. These things are on the ballot. Just think about it. A school with the amount of Black children as Waccamaw, you have one Black counselor in the school. One. Pleasant Hill, I think they have two now.
And the racial dynamics inside of Waccamaw has changed dramatically over the 10, 15 years now, because when it first opened, it was more skewed towards our non-melanin brothers and sisters, but now it's saturated enough to where we do need to have more brown and Black teachers and administrators in there to represent that which is in there in between those walls from 8 o'clock to 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
But the challenges we have, Brother Sheldon, when a principal gets the last say who walks through the door of the school, and the principal have no intention. I can't say about this principal now, but David Hamill, because I think he's a dynamic principal.
I do too.
That past guy, that Adam George, that guy had no intention of hiring a black person in that school. And the same goes for the middle school, the intermediate, and the elementary school. They have no intention of hiring black teachers in those schools. It's by design. So that's where we are. So that's why people have to get out to these board meetings and these county council meetings, because that meeting is about them. It's about them. It's about what happens to your children. Closing black schools in black communities, like Plantersville and Browns Ferry, Carls Bay, Choppy area. What does that do to children in those schools and the community? Now you follow up with book banning. This killed all the history of blacks, purpose driven. So we have to be careful who we put into those principal positions. We have to be careful who we put in the superintendent position. And we have to be careful who we put in those board seats also. Because election have consequences. Like it or not, that's where we are.
Okay, my friend.
So we're going to touch back with our host here. And
hey, Mr. Neal.
Ebony, we are good.
We're good. Okay, let me try to go on and cut it off. What it is, I've been trying to do it from my phone. I had to leave the house. But the way that